We just got home from kind of a staycation. We stayed close by, but we did several different things. We did a float trip at the beginning of the week, which if you're not in the Midwest, you're probably wondering what a float trip is. It's whenever you get in a canoe and float down a river. I know in the past when I've talked about float trips with people that were not in the Midwest, they thought that was really funny. But if you ever have a chance, go on a float trip. In the Midwest, there are so many pretty rivers. It's such a fun time. And then when we got home from that, we went straight up to a lake that is nearby us, and my family actually has a little house there that we stayed at, and we went out on the boat, and the kids went skiing and tubing, all the fun summer things before we get back into the fall schedule. This morning, I am just doing a few things around the house. It's going to be a very busy day because, like I said, we just got home. Last week was kind of a fun week where I didn't really do much of anything other than, keep kids alive, but not any like chores or things around the house. So I have a lot of things to get going, mostly in the kitchen. So I just thought I would kind of take the camera around and show you the different things that I have going on today. We did just get some more milk from my sister, and we had a half gallon of yogurt left from our last batch of milk. So this morning I'm just making some yogurt parfaits for the kids. We have some granola that I got over the weekend. Whenever we were at the lake, we like to have just special things and things I don't have to necessarily cook, and so I love this Purely Elizabeth granola. It actually has really great ingredients, and I know I can make my own, but sometimes it's fun just to buy it and make things easy. So I'm just doing yogurt with a little bit of the granola and honey on top, and then I'm cutting up some frozen bananas for Jacob. He is starting to like table food, and typically I would give him just a regular banana, but we didn't have any in the house. I need to do some grocery shopping this week as well. So then I had some frozen bananas in the freezer that I use for smoothies. So I'm just kind of chopping one up real small for him and putting it on his tray. He still kind of just plays with food. He does eat some. It keeps him entertained, I'll say that, but he doesn't really eat too much. You'll see that he throws majority of this on the floor, but it keeps him happy and occupied when I'm in the kitchen running around cooking and cleaning and just doing all the things. All right, guys, I want to take a quick break to thank today's video sponsor, Peak. You guys already know my obsession with matcha. I have shared lots of different matcha recipes and lattes and things on my blog. I love having one in the afternoon or in the morning since I'm not really a big coffee drinker. For over a month now, I've had Peak's Sun Goddess matcha, and it is so delicious. Peak's matcha is so convenient because it doesn't require any prep work, and it dissolves really easily in either hot or cold water. I'm enjoying mine hot today because it's a little bit of a cooler day. Over the summer, I like drinking iced matcha, but as we go into the winter, I'll definitely be drinking it warm. It's super easy to make, and you just mix it with water, but I also really love it mixed with milk. I heard about Peak from a friend, and ever since being a mom, it is just my favorite thing in the afternoon when the kids are having quiet time and the babies are napping to have a special drink. I almost always go for matcha. And the best part about drinking matcha is not just the flavor, it has some amazing benefits for the skin. Peak's matcha can promote brighter, firmer, and clearer skin, and it can help with stress-induced breakouts. This matcha really stands out above others that I have tried, and it is the highest quality grade of matcha. It's creamy and clump-free, and it's quadruple toxic screened to ensure purity. For a limited time, Peak is offering my viewers 10% off plus free gifts when you use my link peaklife.com/OOH. I will have that linked down in my description box below if you are ready to try it out. I'm also going to be making some eggs this morning. I am first going to be cleaning some eggs. We have a bunch of eggs. While we were gone, our chickens laid a bunch, and then also my sister has a lot of extra eggs right now, so she gave me some. And anytime I get eggs and I'm not exactly sure when they were laid, I like to check them to make sure that they're still good to eat, I guess, because an egg can go bad. If you've ever had chickens and you've probably had a bad egg before and put it in your food and was like, oh, that's a bad one. You'll know when you have one, I'll tell you that. But if I'm just getting eggs and they're not dirty and I know exactly when they were laid, eggs last for a very long time, unwashed and left on the counter. But when I'm getting them after being laid for a while, or if you ever find like a big pile outside somewhere that you're not used to seeing them, I like to wash them and check them to make sure that they're still good. So it's very, very simple to do. You just can fill up a bowl of water and put your egg in there. And if it floats to the top, that means the egg is bad. And if it sinks to the bottom, then the egg is good. And so I am washing all these and checking them. Every single egg is fine. I mean, like I said, eggs can last so long, especially whenever they are not washed. And so I was pretty sure these are all fine, but I like to just double check so I don't get any bad ones in when I'm trying to cook. So I'm just getting these all cleaned, then I'll lay them out to let them dry, and then later on I will get them back in the refrigerator, because after eggs are washed, they do have to go in the refrigerator. Like I said, if they're not washed, they can stay on the counter for months. All right, so I'm just going to fry up some eggs in my cast iron skillet to go with our breakfast. The kids actually got mostly full by eating the yogurt parfaits. They finished all the yogurt and the rest of the granola we had, but my husband and I ate some eggs, and I think a couple of my boys ate some eggs as well. All right, so after making breakfast, I am staying in the kitchen here to just get things cleaned back up. I mentioned in a past video about not using my dishwasher, and I had lots of comments about that, and other people that totally agree with me and don't use the dishwasher as well, and then some people that think that we're crazy. I can see both sides, but I will say the biggest thing for not using a dishwasher is definitely doing dishes right away. So after every meal, getting them done right away. I don't know, maybe when you use a dishwasher, that's helpful too, but the longer that things sit, the harder they are to wash, and that kind of takes away my whole how quick it is whenever you hand wash things. So as soon as we're done eating, I like to get dishes cleaned up and put in the drying rack, and then like I said, I'll leave them there until the next meal. Now, while I was cleaning off the table, I realized that we needed some more flowers. A lot of them died in my vases while we were gone last week, and we have so many zinnias just everywhere around our house. All the different places we plant them, they are in full bloom. And as I mentioned in other videos, I am so excited for next year when I can plant like several different varieties of flowers. This is my first year doing a cut garden, and my sisters told me that zinnias were the easiest ones to grow, so I decided just to go on all zinnias, and that they were really easy, and maybe next year I'll try a few different types of flowers. So I'm going to head outside after I get the kitchen clean and the eggs put back away to cut some more flowers and make another arrangement. I am going to be so sad when these flowers are gone. I don't know, it's so fun having fresh flowers and just looking out the windows and seeing them all around. I know I've told you guys how much I love summertime, but I am getting excited for going back into the fall season, and we are going to be doing some sports again. My husband and I decided to take all the kids out of every sport last year. It's been a full year since we've done any extra like sport activities, and it has been a wonderful year of really just slowing down and not having as many things to do on evening nights, being able just to sit outside and enjoy time as a family. But we did decide for right now, 3 of our boys are going to be playing soccer. The good news is it's only an 8-week season, and a couple of them have practices on the same night, so we should still have several evenings home as a family. But we just decided to change things up. It's not going to be the way we always do it, but for now we are just going to go ahead and try doing sport again. The kids were asking, and we thought, you know what, we had a nice break and we are ready for a change, and so we're going to do sports again for now. Like I said, a short season, and then we'll see how long we last. and if we decide to do any more the rest of the year. All right, you guys saw me doing some laundry and throwing a load of laundry in. That soap I was using is a new soap that I recently made. It's made out of soap nuts. I have the recipe on my blog. I'll link it for you down below. I'm obsessed with it. It works so well. You need such a small amount. It's so cost efficient. So if you guys want that recipe, I'll link it for you guys down below. All right, so after getting the eggs put away, kitchen cleaned up from breakfast, flowers on the table, it is already time to think about lunch, and my baby is so cranky today. At the time of filming lunch, I did not know why he was so cranky, but now this is a couple days later doing the voiceover. He ended up being sick. I'm not really sure if it was from teething or if he had a virus or what, but he had a fever later on in the day, and so it was, I don't know, all day. I knew he wasn't feeling well or that something was wrong. But then the next day he woke up completely fine. And so I'm thinking it was from teeth. I don't know. He just turned 1, so maybe he was getting some teeth in. But you'll see while I'm making lunch and really throughout this video, him being in my carrier, me holding him, me not holding him. I was like passing him on to my husband and then taking breaks and nursing him and then trying him in the wrap. And I just wanted to sit down and just nurse him and hold him and rock him all day. But that is just not reality when you have a larger family. I just had to still get lunch on the table, and there were things I had to do, and the times when I could, that's what I did. I just sat down and I rocked him. I did rock him a lot on this day, but sometimes I just have to get things done, so I handed him off to my husband. He held him. He thankfully did take a couple good naps on this day, but he was not feeling well. Poor baby. So for lunch, I ended up making a soup. My kids all call it kale soup, and this was actually made with spinach because I didn't have any kale. I didn't have any bone broth either, so I started my bone broth very first thing. I got it going in my Instapot, and that is something that I like to do in the beginning of the week, is make a batch of bone broth and also make a loaf of bread, and then I'll use all of that throughout the week, not necessarily even for any particular recipe, but just for the week, and then I find a way to use it throughout the week. So while my broth is still going, I'm making a loaf of bread. I have this recipe linked for you guys down below, along with the bread machine that I'm using. So if you want that recipe or the bread machine I'm using, you can check out my description box for that. You'll also see that I'm pulling my sourdough starter straight out of the fridge. It has not been fed in several days, and I know that, you know, typically if you're making a recipe with sourdough or you're making bread, you want a bubbly fed starter that's been fermenting on the counter. And normally I have that because I have my sourdough out most of the time, but I will tell you that you can make it with a starter straight out of the fridge. I've done it so many times. It will take a little longer for my bread to rise this way, but it will make a beautiful loaf of bread, which you guys will see by the end of this video. This bread will be done, and I'll be cutting it up and made a beautiful sandwich loaf of bread. And so it can be done straight out of the refrigerator, and then I am feeding this and I'll leave it on the counter. So I'll have my starter fed for recipes throughout the week. After making my bread, I finished up making lunch. So for this, I added in my bone broth to my already browned sausage and cut up potatoes. I then added in some frozen corn and, like I said, frozen spinach. Typically this is kale. I searched all around my freezer, didn't have any, so I used spinach. Nobody seemed to care. And then I topped it with some cream, about a cup of cream probably. Stirred that in. This makes it really delicious, creamy soup. So we had this for lunch, and we ended up having some leftover, so we had the rest of it the following day. So after lunch, I got both of the babies down for a nap, and I'm going to be busy today in the kitchen. I am doing several different things, and I kind of go back and forth from different things. First, I'm cleaning up my lunch mess, and then I am working on a candle. This is a coffee candle. I will say that it smells so good when it's being burnt. And on this day I made it. The following day I lit it and I love it. It made a beautiful like beeswax, coffee, vanilla scent. You can add in some different essential oils as well. But I was trying out a new candle recipe for my blog, and so I will link that down below if it's done. I'm not sure. By the time you guys are watching this, it might not already be up on the blog, but eventually I'll link it there, or you can check my blog. I never really know the order of when things are coming out. That's kind of, my husband does all of that. He makes our schedule for the blog, and I just take pictures and recipe test, and actually sometimes he does that as well. But anyway, it'll be on the blog eventually. So if you want to try out this candle, it'll be there. It was really simple to make. I melted some wax and in the bottom of a coffee mug. You'll see when I am grinding the coffee, I'm looking at my husband because he always grinds all the coffee and I've never even used this thing. So I'm looking at him, asking him like, what am I doing? That's why you see my like puzzled face as I'm looking over at him like, is this good? Anyway, and then I just used some hot glue to secure the wax to the bottom of the coffee mug, add in the coffee and then the melted beeswax, and I let it sit. And like I said, it smells so good when I'm burning it. And then while the wax was melting, I was going around and doing some more cleaning. Like I said in past videos, I love to use every pocket of time when I have it. It's the best way for me to stay organized and on top of things. On this day, I wasn't necessarily planning on going around and vacuuming all of the baseboards and wiping down walls, but I had a little extra time while the wax was melting. The babies were sleeping, and so I was like, what am I going to do for my project today? And I was looking around the walls around the kitchen, and they were just so gross. I mean, we have white walls, lots of kids, it's bound to happen, but little fingerprints and sticky who knows what was all over the walls. And so I just started going around. I ended up going down the hallway and just the living room, and I just kind of worked on cleaning up. And then once the candles were done, I decided to show you my process on cleaning up wax, because wax can be very difficult to get out. And I'll tell you, by doing a lot of things with wax, I've made lots of candles, lots of skincare and lotion bars and different things with wax. The only way to clean up wax is with very, very hot water. So right before it's boiling, I just put a pot of water on the stove, bring it to not really a boil because that would like totally burn off my fingers, but like simmering it, I guess. Throwing in everything that I use that have waxes on it, pull it out, wipe it down with a cloth, and it gets it completely clean. And then I dump the wax, like hot water wax, outside in my grass. My husband has gotten on me before because I've tried to put that down the sink, and that's a big, big no. Don't do that. There's been some issues. I'll just say that. Don't do that. So I took it outside, dumped it out the nice, wiped down the pot with a cloth, and everything is totally clean. And so I also used very, very hot water on my countertop because I spilled a little bit of wax on there. And that wax is not going anywhere unless you have some very hot water to basically melt it off the different things that you use, the different tools that you used. So after I got that done, I continued to go around and cleaning some more of the base cabinets in my kitchen. And then I headed outside to take some pictures for the blog. That was something else that was on my schedule today during nap time. So you see some behind the scenes here of me getting some pictures. And then I'm heading in to start dinner. Now, today's dinner is a different recipe that I have never tried before. It ended up being very, very good and very simple. We have so much ground beef, so I like to try to think of like different ways to make it rather than just always doing like burgers or meatloaf or just kind of the more common things that you do with ground beef. And so this was actually, we're calling it oven hamburger steaks. It's very similar to like a Salisbury steak. And so I started off by cutting up some onions and mushrooms and tossing them in some avocado oil, putting them in the bottom of my cast iron skillet. And then I pattied up the burgers. I first had it in some eggs, breadcrumbs, salt, pepper, garlic, pattied them up. And I did about a half a pound per patty. So I did 2 big cast iron skillets of this because we needed more than just a 1 pound. Actually, this was 3 pounds of burger because these were in 1.5 pound packages. And so throw it in the oven, let it bake for about 20 minutes. It was so easy. While it was in the oven, I got some mashed potatoes and some peas going. And then after it was done, I got it out and I made a gravy with some bone broth and some flour. This was so, so good. Again, I'm using that broth that I made at the beginning of the day, and I still have some left in another quart-size mason jar, and so I'll have that in the fridge just for different recipes throughout the week. I always find that there's things that I need broth for, and if I remember to make it at the beginning of the week, I can use that. I always have a bunch of bones because I save all of my bones from any chicken or beef that I use. I save all the bones, so rather than having to buy broth from the store, I like to just have it in the refrigerator ready to go at the beginning of the week. Now I know you could can it, but I always just make it fresh weekly, and then we end up always using it before it is even done. All right, so here I am again blending up and making mashed potatoes, and you guys know my whole thing with making potatoes in a blend or with my hand mixer. Some of you guys said that it's my hand mixer probably, but you see me like just slewing potatoes, like splashing them out, and they're just literally going everywhere. I don't know what my deal is. I am horrible at using these blenders. Maybe I add too much milk. Maybe my hand mixer's bad. Maybe my bowl needs to be deeper. It's probably all 3 of those things. I don't know. I'll figure it out eventually. These are the last bit of potatoes that we got from my aunt's garden. And so I'm going to be using those up, and then we're going to have to go back to buying potatoes, except for I do know that one of my sisters, the one that has the farm that I always talk about her meat on here, she had a very large potato crop and asked if we wanted any of those. So maybe we'll be getting some from her. I'm getting my act together, and I'm going to plant a bunch of potatoes next year and onions because that's just something that we use so much of. I don't know why I didn't do it this year. Just too many things. You can only do so much in a day. So some things sometimes just don't get done. All right, so while my potatoes were boiling, I did get into my bread. I'm slicing it and putting it into a bag. We are going to the zoo tomorrow. It's kind of a last minute field trip that we're doing. And so I'm going to be making sandwiches tomorrow. So I decided to slice up this bread and I'm going to put it in some Ziplocs. I always save my Ziplocs that I put my bread in because we can just reuse those next time I make bread. There's no reason to really throw them away because I make bread every week. So I'm just going to leave this out on the counter, and then tomorrow before we head to the zoo, I'll make some sandwiches. I have some leftover lunch meat and mayo and mustard and all those things because we made sandwiches when we were at the lake. So that'll be a perfect lunch for tomorrow. So anyway, that was our day. I got a lot done. I feel pretty good about the things that we got done, ready to go into the rest of the week. It was a busy Monday, but I actually don't hate Mondays. I know Mondays are not like the favorite day of the week for most people. I kind of like them. I like getting back into my schedule. And like I said, I'm ready for a change. We're ready to kind of get back off of this like completely free summer schedule. I love it. But when it's over, I love getting back into our more like rigid schedule where we'll be having things going on and just kind of like where each hour of the day there's something that needs to be done or different things on our schedule. And I really do think the kids do well with that type of schedule, but then we love to reset in the summer. So anyway, a little bit of changes coming, and I am so happy that you guys are here following along with me. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your support. If you're new here, please hit that subscribe button. I get out a new video every single week.